This video is going to be about how to restore old paint. We're going to use motorcycle mirrors as an example. Some of the video will be in real time, some will be in fast forward to keep the video from getting too long. But the technology, how to use this technology on bigger parts, smaller parts, other parts, motorcycle parts, the same technology applies. All the basics are here. I've tried to keep the video from getting too long. Let's get started. So as I'm looking these parts over, they have really stood up to the test of time well, but there are some gouges and scratches. And what happens with mirrors, these are the first thing that hit bugs and stones and whatever. But here's, I guess, the point that I wanted to make, and it's a point a lot of people really don't even think about this. When something is painted and freshly painted, the paint is soft for, you take the amount of time. I think it's about a month, but not. Doesn't matter if it is or not. Lacquer is soft for a month, and so is butyrate dope. But this modern two-point paint probably hardens up a lot quicker. But it's still not as hard as when it's a year old. Now this is basically maybe more than a year old. So this paint now will take a nice 2000 grit sanding beautifully and will buff out like a mirror. Then I will not have any scratches on it. And by the way, a lot of people, what they think is you paint something, you buff it, or you don't buff it, and that's it for life. Boom, I'm never going to see that part again. Well, that's not true. I've taken, when I bought the R1, the first thing I did, I didn't have it a week. I sanded it down with 2000 grit and buffed it all out, went back to Motorcycle Mall, and everybody said, "Oh, my bike's not that shiny." Well, yeah. Now, I like shiny stuff. There's no secret to that. And let me explain why. This is 2000 grit Indasa sandpaper and some soapy water. And let me just explain something that maybe some people don't even notice. I know my modeling friends have heard this story a million times, but I'm going to tell it again. Maybe some of the people new to the channel haven't heard it. When I was a young kid, and from probably about 9 or 10 years old on, I built and flew every kind of model plane I could get my hands on. I loved model planes. And I finally got, at age 14 or 15, I went with Harold Price to the national championships in Chicago, and for the first time in my whole life I got to see what professional modelers, the finishes on their plane were just shiny and glossy, and mine looked like sandpaper. And I asked, and of course Harold Price was one of the top finishers in the world at that point in time, and he explained to me, if you want to learn how to finish, come to my shop and I'll show you how to finish. And he did. Over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, we went to every tournament together and we buffed out paint together, and he taught me about rubbing compounds and paints and for modeling. And I came to absolutely love, like an addiction, that everything had to be bright and shiny and clean. And I wound up that at some point in my life I was able to pass on that information to literally thousands of modelers and win a lot of championships myself, and I'm sure the people I taught won even more. So anyway, I want to show this up close. Let me, without a camera cut, that's what we're talking about. Let's see if I can show this. The gloss, it's flat. Let me get, this is the new camera. I don't know if it has a good macro lens. Let me see if I can, macro lens is when it's really close to the part. Let me see if I can show this up close. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not real familiar with this camera yet, but this is an orange peel surface. Orange peel meaning it looks like the skin of an orange. It's got little ripples. This is perfectly flat. Now what's going to happen if I took a buffing wheel and I went over this smooth part and the rough part at the same time? At the end, this part would be nicer, shinier, smoother to the touch. Or the choice I would have is with the buffing wheel, I would spend 20 to 30 times the amount of time just buffing away, buffing away. It would be like draining the ocean with a shot glass. Where I have a nice big quick way to do it with the sandpaper. It's called block sanding. But now I'm going to take the whole mirror and flatten it out like that, and it's still wet. This will be ready for rebuffing. Now, even though this part's a year old, the paint is nice and hard. You saw how quick that flattened out? Now, you always have to keep in mind, and I found this out the hard way with the R1, the factories put so little paint on, and a lot of times you think they put a lot of clear, and they didn't put any. They put a minimum amount, maybe a light dusting of it. So you got to really be careful. When you paint your own part, like I like to paint all my own stuff, and then I bury it in clear. So I can do this operation that I'm doing today an unlimited amount of time, almost an unlimited amount of time, and keep everything looking like I just painted it the day before. So the purpose of all our videos is to share useful information, entertaining information, try to make the videos entertaining if that's at all possible, given the fact that I have such a weak personality. But anyway, I wanted to share another quick story. When I was about 14, maybe 15, I had use of, my uncle had bought a new car, my Uncle Henry, and he basically gave me his old car to work on. And of course, it needed a paint job and it needed Bondo work. And I said, well, you know what? As long as he's going to help me out and show me what to do with the tools we had available at the time. And he was very good at showing me how to fix little dents. And I got used to sanding everything, sanding, wet sanding. When on cold days, my hands were killing me. But when I was all done, I got to prime the car. Now, everybody that's ever done this, the first time you ever do it, you sand something and you prime it and you go, wow, it's perfect. And you think it's perfect. And then you paint it and then it looks like this. Because flat surfaces, this is why bikes are flat black, by the way. Let's not pull any punches. The factories know if they sell you a flat black bike, it can be all full of little divots and you'll never see them. If they make that part shiny, wow, you're going to see every... So it's to their advantage. The more flat black they can pack onto a bike, it's cheaper for them. But when you do your own work, this is what I want. I want everything to be as shiny as if it's a diamond. Now, it's just me. I know not everybody feels that way. And it's okay. If you like this flat, that's no problem. But I just happen to be married to the fact I like to do my own work and I like things to be shiny. And if I find tricks and tips and things, I like to share them with the Windy Video channel. So another thing comes into it. When I was a young kid, my family was very, very poor. And we would burn the furniture in the fireplace poor. But we survived. I don't expect anybody to feel sorry for me because I had a great childhood. I had adventures within adventures. But what I did is I always learned to get the most for the money I had available. And one of the things, if you do your own work and do your own painting and do your own sanding and everything, you will have a lot of stuff that looks like you spent a lot of money without spending the money. It's kind of a good system. Anyway, I'm going to finish sanding these two mirrors off camera. We're getting a little ahead of the story here because we're going to want to get ready to buff them soon. And it's amazing what a half hour, 45 minutes of working on a gas tank, a seat, and I know the people that are really fussy, a model plane. When you're done, you really have something. These kind of jobs, the second one always goes a little bit faster than the first one for whatever reason, but it does. Now, there's a lot of good tips you can pick up off of Windy Videos, I'm sure. I wish when I was a kid I had Windy Videos. I had figured it out yourself, kid. Anyway, old pads. We can use these for polishing aluminum, polishing the bottom of the oil pan, something. But these will scratch, and I don't want this paint scratched. So, for a mere $2 or $1 or whatever it is, I can get a brand new pad. And this is the whole secret to having that ultimate shine come right up. A product that we use, 8065 CRC, Meguiar's is good. You can use Mother's aluminum polish. There's any number of good things, including toothpaste. That'll work. Toothpaste might get a little expensive. But anyway, not real critical about how much we get on, but what is important is to get it on the edge. The edge is what's going to do most of the work here. The middle in here, not going to do that much work. Now, I usually like to do, it's my habit to do this because I'm trying to show somebody, trying to help them with useful information. This is a good way to do it. You don't really need as much polish as I'm putting on here, but just put the polish on everything. And a combination of doing it by hand, doing it with the buffer, and in this case, we're going to do one piece by real time, and hopefully it'll come right up. Now, if you do it by hand, it's going to take a little longer, but you're not going to be prone to go through on edges and corners. Here's the problem. If you were to, let me just show this real quick. If you were to just hold a buffer on that edge, you're going to go through. Right up here, this edge, you're going to go through. And then all your work is, you're ready for a touch-up. And that, of course, is one of the good things about paint. You can always repair it. Powder coating, not so much. But paint is very forgiving, very easy to take the old paint off and put new paint on. We got our $15 buffer here. We have the better one, the more powerful one, to put a coat of wax and flitz on this. And this is really, let me get a cloth here. Yeah, I don't want to have a camera cut in the middle of this. I want to show this. Let me just see if I can show this properly. I don't know. You can see that, and that's what I like to do in real time. Anytime I'm doing instructional videos, that's real time. Now doing the rest of it, piece by piece. In here, I'll use the Dremel tool because that pad will not go down in there. And when I'm all done, like I always do with everything that I do that's polished, I'll put a coat of flitz on as the final touch. Now, one of the most useful $15 tools I have is this Harbor Freight, and I got these off of Amazon for, these are the ones I want to show, these little buffers with a little bit of 8065. Boy, you can do some nice detailing. These work well. I've used these on the RD. That they are just absolutely priceless. Now, you have to really not turn them up too fast or they distort, but speed 2 or 3, sometime even 4, you can really put a nice polish on things with them, and with 8065. Now these are the areas that are really hard to get to because it's a reverse curve. It's a valley. And these really let you detail a part out. Get right down in the valley. And it's best to just put the 8065 on the part itself and just pick up what you need to with the little buffing wheel. This works extremely well when you're trying to buff out a wheel or in between little surfaces. Really works well. Finishing off each part, this is a dedicated pad, a Bauer pad, dedicated. It doesn't have anything on it but flitz, and what this does, it allows me to put on that coat of flitz at the very end of every buffing. Even if I'm buffing aluminum, steel, it doesn't matter what, this will give it some protection. Now hopefully, you know, it'll protect it from bugs and everything, but we will just get this. This is, by the way, for people that don't know, it's 6000 grit. Really good high quality polish. It's not really a polish though. It's a protectant. And this really puts the final touch on. And the Bauer pad really gets in all the corners and edges and angles and everything. So I'm hoping I can show the quality of that finish, which is flawless right now. Bugs will slide off that for the next couple of years. And I think, for me, this is a great investment in time, a good way to use up a really crappy day, and keeps me out of the bars, that's for sure. But I'd rather have the shiny parts than empty beer bottles, I guess. But that's all the information I can share, how to renew and refresh paint. And I think there's a lot of good tips on this video. I hope you'll share them with your friends. So we have another small part off our list of things we wanted to do over the winter and to stay busy and keep active and try to improve the quality of the motorcycles that we have restored over the years. And that's one nice little touch. No matter how you look at it, that's going to be nicer than looking at those plastic flat black mirrors that a lot of bikes come with, including the MT-09. I haven't decided exactly what to do with those yet. Now with paint, you never have to worry, because when I paint the wheel, I always put so much clear on, I can rebuff it and go through it 50 times before I go through. So all of the wheels that I've done have that extra clear, and the extra clear allows you to go back at a time like this when the parts are, these are probably 5, 6 years old. Anytime I want, I have a cold, crappy, no riding day, I can just hang this up by the come along and rebuff those wheels out. Now, why I like to have buffed wheels. I run my finger over it. In fact, there's a stone right here as I say it. Comes right off. When it's smooth, keeping it polished, keeping it clean. It's so easy to maintain a bike that's polished. A bike that's got a lot of parts that are not polished, you can maintain it, but it's a lot more work. So I'm always looking for more polished surfaces. And yeah, when I'm doing these polished wheels, it's a lot of work buffing them and a lot of work, that's for sure. But you know what? We're in the middle of the winter, and the work that I have done on these wheels now for the rest of my life is going to pay dividends. So I hope you found some of this information useful. If you like Jim Skinner, this is Jim's latest bike he added to his collection, and he's going to be using some of this technology on his bike for the cleanup. This is useful information. It's basic 101, how to restore paint, how to refresh paint, especially if it's old paint. There's other videos of how to do the paint on bodywork like on the GS out on our channel. You can search it. I hope you didn't mind sitting through the true stories of how I learned how to do a lot of the paint work I do from Harold Price and from my Uncle Henry. And of course, I hope the information is something you can put right to work on your bike, car, guitar, or whatever you're going to be trying to upgrade. Now, if you're new to our channel, we have a very, very eclectic channel. One of the new features we have now is some of the videos are grouped into groups that you can access all the videos for one category in one mouse click. And it should be very convenient and very handy. Just check out the feature on the main screen playlist. And thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. We appreciate your support, and it makes this channel possible with all the things we do, the painting, the wheels, the polishing. And please take a second or two and hit the like button. And thanks everyone for watching.